Okay, I guess we could start.
All right.
Okay. All right, so welcome to the October 9th Badge WX webinar, everybody. I don't know if you guys know me, but my name is Miguel, and I'll be your host for this evening, and including co-host will be Jeff Martin.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going? Well, I really hate not being able to see who's online, but it's okay. I'll just, we'll roll with the punches. So I just wanted to just introduce myself and then get into the webinar. So if anybody have any questions, we have a few ways to do that. You can either go into our chat window, you can raise your hand, and we also have a Q&A button. So on your end, you'll see something like this for the Q&A, you raise your hand or the chat, and so that's a good way to ask a question. The questions will probably be answered by Jeff or Stephanie. And because I can't really see that on my end because my presentation window is kind of blocking all of that, unless I minimize it. Anybody have any questions so far?
Okay. Somebody asked, or somebody said no Q&A on their screen. That's okay. If you can open up the chat, that tends to be the most popular place for people to ask questions anyway.
All right, so what's the agenda today? So the focus is going to be on the Badge WX, but within that, we're going to talk about the history of the badge, from how it went from when we first made the first revision, and I think it was not Comic-Con. It was what was it, Jeff? The first DEF CON 20 and 22 to what it is today, and why we revise it to the way it is today. We're going to go over its features. We're going to actually program a badge, show you how to program it from. I'm going to go into like how to register for Blockly for those of you who don't have Blockly, have never used it, to how to load a program. And there's some blocks that you have to take into consideration when you're programming the badge. So we'll cover those as well. We'll also have some projects that we have on our Learn website that I will demo here today. And at the end, we're going to talk about customization. And we are going to raffle some badges, but we're going to get to that way later, okay? So on this one, do you want to talk about this one, Jeff?
Sure. Yes, so Parallax has been making badges for quite a few years. It started with DEF CON 20, where the organizers had asked us kind of at the last minute, they were in a pinch to get these badges made for a Hackable programming contest for all the attendees of DEF CON. In case you don't know, DEF CON is I think it's the longest running hacker and computer security convention. And so we made this, what you see, I think it's the ones at the bottom of the screen here were the first badges. And then we did it again for DEF CON 22 a couple years later. We've made, I know for 22, we made, I think almost 14,000 badges. I don't remember how much we did in the first, but it was many thousands, and we were scrambling around here at Parallax putting these together. It was quite an adventure. We've also done them for robo games, which I think has changed names. I forget what the name changed to. And then we started making our own badges because we were getting requests for them from various sources. And so what you're seeing today is the second iteration of our own custom badge.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how far we've come. I see the badges from DEF CON 20 and 22, and I just see how far we have come with the badges. Now, the first badges didn't have I didn't see an SD card on it or RGB LEDs, audio jack, and then to see what it's morphed into today, even being able to program it wireless is pretty cool.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions so far?
We have, no, they're just saying that's cool history.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. So going over some of the features, the hardware features of the WX, like I was saying before, our past badges that we've made for the DEF CONs or even our previous badge uh, didn't have all the features that are on the badge today. We've learned along the way on what works, what doesn't, what people want, and so this is what we have is what you see here. Oops, let me go back. All right, so just covering it I'm gonna go from the top left to just kind of come around through here. So now we have these rocker buttons. So these buttons, you can rock them left to right. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, so you can rock these from left to right, and they can also be pressed in. So there's 3 different ways you can push each one of these badges, and we're gonna go through a project today that kind of highlights this part of the badge. And we have another rocker button on this side that does the exact same thing.
Yeah, we call those the navigation buttons.
Navigation
because they're good for user interaction for navigating through, say, maybe a menu system.
Yeah, I saw Wit. He made a project where he's controlling his activity bot with these buttons, and they're pretty cool. And it's on the Facebook microcontrollers for Blockly webpage. So right along here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we have these are RGB LEDs, and you can use these for indicating when a sensor senses something, or you can just have them as cool lights turning on and off. There's 4 of them on here. This is something that I do not believe was on the, well, actually it was on the last badge, but not the previous versions. Right up in here, we have an audio jack. So you can, in this jack, you can connect some headphones. We sell a Veho speaker where you can add sound to an SD card, put some sound onto your SD card and play it out of this audio jack, either through your headphones or through a speaker that we also have here at Parallax. And this is where that card would insert. It would insert right in here. You just download some WAV files, stick it right in here, and you can play it out of here. I just made a project not too long ago, like for Halloween, where I stuck an activity board onto this felt animation Dracula looking thing, and I just added some music to it. So anytime somebody walks up to the fixture, it'll start flapping its arms, moving around, and it'll play a song. And it's pretty much done through the same exact thing. This SD card slot and this audio jack. So as soon as the PR senses movement, the song will play. So it's a really nice little feature to have on the actual badge itself. So on this header here, Jeff, do you know what this one is for?
The top and bottom pins of that header are actually the power connectors from the battery pack that slips in from the backside, positive and ground, right from the battery. And then the center pins, I know there's some I2C pins on there, so you can get access to the propeller's I2C bus. And I don't remember, the one marked SW there is switch. I'm not sure if that's the power button or not. I will have to look that up. We do have documentation on this, and unfortunately, I've never been privy to that particular.
Yeah, this is the power button right here. You see my mouse? So this is the power. This is where you press this in. It turns on the power. And this is the power indicator light. So when you press this button, the badge turns on. You should get a green LED here that's lit up. So as soon as you turn on your badge, you can have it look for a Wi-Fi signal. So that's just one of the reasons that it's called WX, is because now you can program the badge wirelessly, whereas in the previous versions, you had to connect the badge to a USB cable and to your PC. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. Behind this screen right here, right behind it, we have a Wi-Fi module, and you connect that to your network, and you connect the badge to the same network, and you're able to download using Blockly, you can download a block program onto your badge. And this little light right here, this where it says Wi-Fi, that will blink when you have a connection, when you've been established a connection. And there's a certain pattern of the way that it blinks that tells you what type of connection you're connected to. But in general, just so that you know you're connected to something, you should be able to see this blink. And once you see it blink, you know you're connected.
Yeah, I think the pattern is listed on page 2 of the product documentation.
Mm-hmm. Oops, I keep going up. Sorry. So also in the past, when we've had the conventions, one of the things that originally prompted the design of one of these type of badges is so that people can transfer data information about each other to one another. So it's kind of like handing your card to somebody. But what you can do and these type of badges is you can load your information, say Miguel Rodriguez, technical support Parallax. I can load that information onto the card, onto the badge, and I can have it transmit through infrared to another badge, and vice versa. They can transmit their information to me. So it's kind of like they're handing me their card and I'm handing them theirs. And the way that would happen, the way they do that is through this IR out receiver and emitter circuit right in here. So here we have the IR in, my bottom left. Over here on the right, we have the IR out. So these are the IR sensor, transmitter and emitter that will send that data out. So that's another feature on this badge. Do you see anything I'm forgetting, Jeff, or does anybody have any questions on this?
It doesn't look like anybody has questions. Somebody also mentioned that you can also receive code from a Sony infrared remote.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right on, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay, so let's go.
Oh, somebody asked what's the ribbon mount for? That ribbon mount is actually, it looks like it's not completely drawn on this diagram, but that's where the OLED screen attaches to. So when, as you see it on screen here, you can see some components that are actually normally hidden under the ribbon cable that comes down from the OLED down into that connector. There's just a few resistors and capacitors that are nestled under there.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on this? Anybody else?
One thing I think I'll mention here is that when the badge starts up, the Wi-Fi module that's behind the OLED actually programs the propeller with a little badge bootloader, and that runs a little menu. It does a couple of checks and runs a menu system that you can use to see where it's connecting to Wi-Fi, and if it's not connecting, you can actually use the navigation buttons to manually select an access point and enter the passphrase. And in addition to that, you could use the SD card if you put a little Wi-Fi.txt file on there with the name of the access point and the passphrase, that it'll start up, read that file, and connect to that access, or attempt to connect to that access point.
Cool. And we almost forgot the accelerometer that's on here. It has a built-in accelerometer, and we're gonna go through a project. I'll show a project a little later that kind of demos it on how it works. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start programming, show you how to program Blockly, the badge with Blockly. Let me just make my screen, get to the screen that I want to get to. All right, let's see if anybody can see that.
We have a question from Carol. She's raised her hand.
Yes, Carol.
Let's see. I don't know how
let me allow you to talk, Carol. I think now that I've kind of moved that screen. I can see this now. Let me allow you to talk. Hey, Carol. Can you hear me? Hello? It says I'm mute.
It says she's muted.
I've got her. All right, let me try it again.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, now we hear you.
Okay, through trial and error, I found out, and with the help of a IT guru at Robothon, that the badge and the telepresence robot both would not connect to a Wi-Fi access that had a space in its name.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I had to take the space out. It happened both using my hotspot called Carol's iPhone, which had a space in it. We took the space out, and by gummers, it hooked up.
Okay.
And the exact same thing happened with the badge. My network at home, I named nursing home to make it kind of invisible.
Oh, okay. And
I ended up having to take the space out of it also, and it hooked right up.
Thanks for telling us that. Wow. I thought that I had tested that, but now that I think about it, I just tested spaces in passphrases, I believe. I don't think I tested an access point. So I'll check on that and see if we can improve that to accept spaces. Otherwise, we'll document the way it actually works.
It was all new to me. If it wasn't for one of our IT gurus at Robothon coming over and helping me out, I would have never, ever thought of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that.
It's funny how you think you test everything, and it's just there's always something. That's hard work for you.
Something else
and code.
Yeah, something else that's important to mention here is that the badge and the device that you're using to program it, like a PC, have to be on the same network subnet. Because the automated discovery protocol doesn't work, it's not a routable. It's a broadcast packet which isn't routable across subnets. So they need to be on the same subnet, which is pretty typical in, say, like a home network situation, but may not be so in a corporate network situation or something at an event venue. And also the access point cannot be isolating individual devices from each other, which you'll see often at places that are, trying to be more secure. So they're offering Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi to the masses, but only to access the internet through, not access each other. So the badge won't work in that case because each device can't see each other.
Well, I was lucky. I got both it and Pablo working at Robothon, so.
Oh, good.
Okay, yeah, I guess I remember seeing something like that. Okay, so I'm going to take you guys through a tour of how to program the badge with Blockly. And so I know maybe a few of you might not have ever programmed in Blockly at all. So I'm going to give you just a quick rundown on how to register and how to download a program or how to get started to create a program. So this is the Blockly environment right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of here. Let's see. I'm going to go to new project. Actually, let me just go to the main Blockly website. So this is the Blockly web browser. So if you wanted to register, you would come in here and let's see. So I would have to log out and then I would register for Blockly. You're gonna need your email and you have to create a password. Once you signed in, it'll look something like this. You'll have your email up here. You create a new project. And so since we're gonna be using the badge WX, the board type that I'm going to be using is Hackable. Oh, no, there it is, badge WX. So if you pick the wrong board, wrong platform, you may not have access to the blocks and you won't have access to the same pins. So I'm going to call this one webinar. I'm just going to capitalize that. Webinar WX for today. And so you create a project, hit finish, and now you're in your programming environment. This is where you will actually grab some blocks to do something with your badge. For for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go into communicate. And so it has a drop-down menu. I can see more options for different blocks. If I go all the way down, more blocks. But I'm just going to go with this for now, badge display. So I'm going to, on the badge, I'm going to say hi. And I'm also going to go with some LEDs. Actually, let's just download hi for now. So I think hopefully everybody can see my camera over here on the left.
Yes, we can.
All right, cool. Right now it says Miguel. One thing I also want to point out is over here in the top right, you'll see the badge ID. So each badge has its own Wi-Fi ID so you can connect to it. If I had more badges, you'll see a little bit. You'll see a list in here of different badges, different badge IDs, but I only have one on it right now. So that is confirmation for me that my badge is connected to the correct network and that my Blockly browser can see it. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. Use the download button, download to EEPROM. So it's more of a permanent type of download. If I was to use this button on the left, it would only be as soon as I turn off the power to the badge, I will lose that program. So I'm going to use this one. Okay, here we go. Compile succeeded, download successful. So there it goes. No wires attached. There are no wires. It's just all through the network. Does anybody have any questions on what I just did? And we also have tutorials on all of this, on how to get started with Blockly, how to program the badge. There's tutorials on all of this. This is kind of just a demo just to show you guys how it's done. Sorry, Jeff, looks like I talked over you there.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, nobody's asked. Oh, there is a question. You do not have to set the badge to load?
Oh, the EEPROM?
I think he's talking about, because I don't remember if you mentioned that the badge, when it starts up, it's locked so that it can't be programmed by any person in the area around you without you knowing. You have to physically unlock it.
I totally forgot about the unlock feature, yes. All right, so when you first turn on, thank you, whoever that was. Who was that?
That was Whit.
Whit, thank you, Whit. All right, so when you first start up your badge, it's gonna start off locked. In other words, and that's just to prevent anybody else for example, if you're in a classroom setting, there's gonna be 20, 25 people in a classroom and somebody can easily program somebody else's badge. So what you can do is the badge starts off being locked. So if you want to program it, and so it doesn't keep on locking on you every time you program it, there is a block. Where is it? Wi-Fi lock. You put this into your badge. And so now every time you load a program, your badge will not lock. Because I've run into it many times and it can get pretty, you forget about it. And then you're like, why won't my badge connect? And you change out batteries, it turns out that it's just locked. And so let me give that a shot again. And that's that's not my badge locked on me. So that's why it won't load again. All right, so to unlock it, I have two options. Let me see if I can do this without moving everything out of the way. I can press on this button here 6 times, or let me try it. Let me turn it off and turn it back on.
Edward asked, so it relocks after you download? Well, the answer is it depends. By default, when it starts up, you get to a Wi-Fi screen here that I think we'll see show up on Miguel's side. Yes, and right here you see that load option, that little load menu in the lower right corner of his OLED display. If you press that right nav button, right now it is unlocked and it's waiting to be programmed. So you can download once to it, If your program happens to have this badge unlock block in it, like what we see on the screen, then it will continue to remain unlocked as long as every project that you download after that has that unlock block in it. There's another way to unlock it with persistency, and that's to press the power button 6 times fast. And by fast, I mean within about 2 seconds. Click, 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 click.
I have a hard time doing that. So
yeah, some people find that that's kind of hard to do. One thing I noticed is you really need to just put your thumb over the whole power switch there and press down, and it will press down. It just doesn't seem like it at first, but it actually does have a real nice tactile feedback. So if don't try to use your thumbnail like I do, I end up missing it at times.
I've tried so many different tools, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna just turn it off and turn it back on, and then go from there, and then use the unlock button to the unlock block so it doesn't lock on me again.
Yes.
That's worked for me. So
yeah, we put that unlock block in there specifically for that, to make it, you know, another way to keep it unlocked. In case people have trouble.
How's everybody doing? Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, John says, John Harris asks, everything's scrolling by here, hold on. He says, what does it take to make the connection to load programs? Can you show us? So what he's asking about is connect to Wi-Fi. So I think what he means is when the badge starts up, how do you connect it to Wi-Fi the first time?
Yeah. Okay. I wonder if I need a new badge, but I could try.
Maybe you could just double click the button to power cycle it.
Okay.
There we go. And so this is what happens when it starts up like this. It'll boot up with a little program that checks a few things. Then it searches for Wi-Fi that you see here. And in his case, it's already associated with an access point, so it will look a little bit different. But normally what it would do at this point, it would try and then time out and say not connected. Now, if you roll the rocker left or right, eventually you'll see a button that says search, I believe. Can you roll it right again? There you go. If he presses down on that, that nav button, and you can go ahead and do that now, it will search for existing Wi-Fi networks. And here you go. So now you can see networks, and you can roll with the left nav bar to select an access point that you want.
Let me just select connect just to see what it.
Yeah, at this point it's going to, if you hit connect over there, now it asks you for the passphrase. And this, the left nav button scrolls through letters, numbers, symbols. The right button enters them or deletes them. So you can go through the process of manually typing in the passphrase here. And at the end, you press the right nav button down to hit OK. And at that point, it will try to associate with that using that passphrase. I suggest Miguel doesn't do that part, because then his badge will not be connected to our network anymore. So to cancel out of that, go left with the right nav button all the way, and with the right one, go all the way left until the whole passphrase is deleted, and then see how lower right is cancel. Go ahead and cancel that. Okay.
I was trying to put in some dummy characters just to show off the way you can change from capital letters to lowercase and any like ampersand type things.
And then another option is to put a small text file on an SD card and stick it in the SD slot before you power it up. And this is described in the product documentation too. If that Wi-Fi text file contains just 2 lines, where the top line is the name of the access point and the bottom line is the passphrase, upon power up, the badge will load that file and use those credentials to try to associate with that access point. That's really handy for cases where the passphrase is kind of long and difficult to type in manually. I think Whit is joining us on audio.
Hey, how's everybody?
I just unmuted.
Hi, Whit.
Good.
Just wanted to bring him in just to if he has anything to add to that.
Okay.
No, I think it's really good. You know, the rocker buttons in scrolling through the letters just take a little getting used to, but once you learn it, it's really fast. You know, I'm always amazed that once my son learns how to do that, he can enter the text about 8 times faster than I can enter it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that I could get into it, or I could enter a passphrase pretty quick after a while.
Right.
It just takes a few times when you get used to it.
Does anybody have any questions so far?
Yeah, somebody asked, can you use DHCP or does it have to be statically assigned? The answer is yes, you can use DHCP. In fact, I think it's DHCP only at the moment. I might be wrong about that, but I think we had reserved adding static addressing to the WX module till a later firmware rev.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Well, if anybody else doesn't have any more questions on this part, we can go to the next slide. Let's see.
Actually, it looks like we do have a number of questions that have come up in the chat.
All right.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to answer them, but I can read them. Does it retain the password using the SD card method?
Yes. Yeah, if you use the SD card method to give it its credentials, it will retain that access point credential until you go associate it with a different access point.
And then another topic, I think we discussed this in working on the documentation from Todd, says our school Wi-Fi requires an identity to log in, not just a passphrase. Can you discuss that, Jeff?
Yes, I think what Todd is referring to are access points that you've probably seen at some public Wi-Fi locations where you can associate with the access point, but then you don't have any access to the internet until you answer a question or sign in on some kind of login page that's usually served by a browser. And for access points like that, the badge won't work because the Wi-Fi module doesn't have a way to display it and it doesn't know what to do with that login page. So it has to be I don't remember what that feature in access points is called, but it'll have to be one that does not ask for, it doesn't present a splash screen kind of login page. Just a simple SSID and passphrase.
I think we discussed that somewhere in either the Getting Started web tutorial or in the product guide. I've put links to both in the chat.
Okay.
And then Shannon has had questions about the types of events that these have been used at. And I think maybe Miguel might be talking about that, a little bit more about history and where these have been used.
We're talking about that earlier. It's they've been used at DEF CON or just events where, what was it, Simon Denny?
Yeah, at the Serpentine Gallery, an art gallery in the UK. That was an interesting event.
Yeah, so DEF CON and Simon Denny. And they were mainly used to communicate or just to transfer data, as if you were giving somebody your card, data like that. So their name, their phone number, their address, versus instead of giving them a card, you would place the badges in front of each other, press a button, and they would communicate and transfer information. And at the end of the night, you could download that information into an Excel file.
Okay, let's see.
Carol Hazlitt asks a question. Well, she says, I was able to put a program in my badge, but when I turn on my badge, it loads and runs the program and locks me out, even using the unlock block. What am I doing wrong?
I would say I would check batteries first. That would be my first. Because what I noticed that these badges, they do weird things when batteries are low.
Yeah, we've noticed that too. When the batteries get low, you'll end up with strange things happening sometimes where maybe you'll be associated with an access point and things look fine, but you start having download errors like communication failures in midstream, which you'll see an error message on the screen with Blockly prop, but you won't know exactly what's causing it. Oftentimes, switching the fresh batteries will solve that. I'm not sure if that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
I think, Carol, we'll need to maybe do some tech support with you and see if we can figure out what's going on. Because it shouldn't be locking you out all the time, especially if your running program has the unlock block.
Are you using do you have more than one badge connected at a time, Carol?
Can you unmute Carol? Maybe she can. Maybe she can.
No, I only have one badge, and it's got fresh batteries in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, we'll do.
This is just fumble finger stuff.
Okay. All right, let's see. Let's go into the presenter. All right, so we've got some prepared projects that I want to go over. And let's see if I can pull up where they are. Can you see my screen, Jeff, where I'm going to?
Yes.
I'm gonna learn. So let me go here. I think I had it bookmarked, but. So on this page on the Learn website, we have several projects. Here's how to get started with the badge WX. Kind of like it goes into more detail what we covered earlier. And down here we have some projects that you can load onto your badge to kind of get to know it a little bit better. One I'm going to run right now is the transmit and receive project. Let me boot these guys up.
While you're doing that, I'm going to answer one question live. Whit just asked, did we talk about touchpads? I don't think we did.
Oh, I can talk about those right now.
Okay.
The project that I'm going over includes those touchpads. Okay. So if I was into touchpads here, let me grab it. Sorry, this is taking a while. So this is the touchpads, buttons and touchpads project that we have online. If you have a badge and you wanted to try this out, you can go to this link here and it'll take you directly to it into Blockly, given that you're already registered. And so if I look over here at the top, that's my badge that I'm connected to. I already have the project loaded into my badge, so I'm not going to go in and load it. I just want to show you guys on screen what it looks like. And I think I gotta minimize this. Can everybody see that? Can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, cool. So right now I have the buttons and touchpad program loaded onto Blockly. Onto the badge. If I get this focused. And so if I was to move my right pad, my right rocker button, it shows me that it outputs a 1. And if I go left, it outputs a 1 there. And if I press in, outputs a 1 there. And the same thing with the left. Right, left, in. And the touchpads that we're talking about are back here. There's 2 touchpads right up in here, capacitive touch. And if I was to make contact with these 2 touchpads here, it will output a 1 just the same as I did with the rocker button. So let me just show that. Sometimes they're not sensitive enough.
Yeah.
There it goes. Guess what?
There's a block setting for the touchpad sensitivity too that you have to play with.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it. There it goes.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Somebody else had asked if there was some sensitivity controls, which I had didn't realize that we even had a block set up for that.
You do. And matter of fact, sometimes if my fingers are cold, just like, you can't adjust your phone if your fingers are cold. If I blow on my fingers a little, they'll work better on the touchpads. But if you set that sensitivity, you can get it working just right.
Okay. Yeah, so these are touchpads on the back here. So
white areas that you see on screen.
Yeah, there's A and B. I can't get everything on the camera. There it goes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, so this is the buttons and touchpad program that we have on our Learn website. And if you had a badge, you can just download this program, make it yours, change it up whatever you want to do, and you'll have your own program on your Blockly account. So, and now another one I want to cover is, let me actually go to the actual, to the projects page. So there is another project called Transmit and Receive. So this is where we get two badges and we demo the IR emitter and transmitter that are mounted on the bottom left and right corners of the badge. And so this is something you would use to transmit data to somebody, for example, your information, or just whatever kind of data you want. It doesn't have to be your name or anything like that. Let me find my badges. There they are. Now that I've messed these around, I can't find them. Oh, there it goes. I got it. All right, let me go back to the camera. All right. So when you load the program, it's going to look a little bit like this, or exactly like this. So I get that glare out. So you'll have the option of pressing A for transmit or B for receive. You can make one badge transmit and the other one receive. So I'm going to press A for this one. Okay. And then B on the other. And I'll show you guys here in a second once I get them going. It's just hard to do underneath the camera. But if you were able to see that, one is, man, I can't, this is really bad. This one's receiving.
Yeah, we can see that.
All right. And then the other one will be transmitting. It should be transmitting. Oh, my batteries are getting low. There you go. Transmitting. And it's hard to put both badges underneath the camera without losing visual.
On the Learn tutorial page, there's a short video that shows both of them on screen.
Yeah.
I believe Ken made that video.
Yeah. So they're both, and what's working is that on the bottom left and right corners of each badge, there are some IR transmitter receivers that are communicating with each other.
So this is the kind of transmission and reception that was used for the original DEF CON badges that we developed to transfer information back and forth between attendees as they were, physically in relatively close proximity to each other.
Yeah, do you know what the distance is, the max distance on these badges?
I don't know, but it will be affected by other IR sources like the sun. And some fluorescent lights will end up interfering with it. So in an ideal situation, I bet you would be able to get probably 5 to 6 feet at the least. I haven't tried it on these particular badges, but with little IR experiments I've done in the past, I've been able to get much further than that.
Okay. How's everybody doing? Any questions on these 2 projects that we've gone over?
No, it doesn't look like we have any questions on those yet.
Okay. All right. So my last one is booting up here.
Everybody's saying all good, no questions here. Great job, Miguel.
Okay. Let's see. All right. So the last one that we have here is, and then let me take you to the. I just want to take you to the page where you'll find it. Is this guy here, the accelerometer bubble display. So on here, there's an accelerometer, and right now what it's doing is sensing tilt in all directions. I think it might be is it a 3-axis accelerometer? Do you know?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
3-axis accelerometer. So let me just show you what it looks like on screen. And again, each one of these tutorials has a link to the code. So if you have the badge, you want to give it a shot, this is where you'll find it. All right, let me go back to my camera. So this is what it looked like. And there's also a video on the on these tutorials for what each one of these does. So if I was to tilt it this way, the accelerometer senses tilt. And actually is displaying it in the opposite direction. That's just the way it's programmed. But you can program it to do anything you want, to make the bubble do anything you want based on the output of the accelerometer. And that glare is just really, it's really bugging me. And so yeah, this is the accelerometer at work. Does anybody have any question on the accelerometer?
What is the orientation of the accelerometer? Z is up?
Yeah, it's actually, it's shown on here. Z is up. Say Z. Let me see. Let me grab another one that doesn't have this logo on it. So if I was to put it right here, can you see it?
Yeah, there's the orientation.
Yeah.
Does everybody see that there and just below and to the right of the
That's a good question.
crystal?
Yeah.
That is a good question. Somebody says, cool engraved faceplate.
Yeah. Oh, that's next. That's coming up.
That was from Wit.
Yeah.
This is the second time I've heard this. Wit says, I want to combine that with the activity bot control function.
Oh, yeah. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. Were you able to get that in Blockly, Wit? That code converted to Blockly? I think
He's still muted.
I'm pretty sure.
I was trying to type my answer. The host part, the code for the badge WX, I have it completely working in Blockly prop. The code for the activity bot is kind of a hybrid version. I have some of it in Blockly and some I use the user-defined blocks. And I think that's because we're still working out a few kinks in a couple of the blocks that make that connection possible.
Okay, yeah. All right.
But yeah, for the badge, it all works in Blockly prop.
And this is also a good point to say, Michael Green just mentioned that this all seems pretty straightforward. He's been doing some programming of the badge using Spin, but downloading using prop loader from the command line. And yeah, that's something that you can do. You can also program it in C directly with simple IDE, which also uses prop loader in the background.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody was talking about the logo. So you'll be able to customize the acrylic screen that is in front of the badge itself. I don't know if you guys can see this. So this screen, you'll be able to customize it. in many different ways. So if you have a logo that you want to put on there, if you have an event that you want to get some badges for and customize it, we have a 1 inch by 1.75 inch area that you can engrave something onto it.
Yeah, you see that like kind of cross-hatch shaded area on the diagram on the right. And this is, so the way this works is you would send some files to us and we would laser engrave these. There's also a possibility of doing things in other areas of the bezel too, I've heard, maybe around the buttons, or if you wanted to label certain things like certain LEDs a specific way. But certainly right there in that 1.7 by 1.25 inch area.
Yes, from what I hear, it centers really nicely in that area. The only thing you would probably have to take into consideration are the IR transmitter receivers. You don't want to block those, and that's pretty much. I mean,
and there might be some issues with reflection. Also, if there's some kind of engraving that reflects too much light back, its own transceiver might, or its own receiver might get confused with its transmissions.
Yeah, so it's definitely a case-by-case basis, but it's definitely doable. We can work with it.
And it's a minimum quantity of 200 order in order to do this custom bezel for you.
For a school or something, yeah. How's everyone doing? No questions so far?
Whit asked, where is that documented? Whit, I'm not sure what you're exactly asking about.
Yeah.
Let me go back up.
About the bezel customization, like the picture you have there that has the suggested logo size.
I think we just came up with it today.
Yeah, we're just putting it together kind of on the fly the last couple of days. So in fact, that picture is only about, I don't know, an hour and a half old.
Wow.
So we'll get some documentation that I imagine we'll put on the product page on our website to advertise it and probably give some recommendations for file type and how to communicate all of that to us.
Okay, there's no questions. Let's move on to the next slide. Oh, flash sale. Okay.
Flash sale.
So for the attendees today, we are the badges are $25. So basically half off. And so you would just go to Parallax.com and they would just have to just go to just buy it off our website, right, Stephanie? Would you have to enter a code?
Is there a custom coupon code for that?
Not that I know of.
It does say for the webinar attendees. So yeah. I think we'll have to share the webinar attendee list with sales so that everything gets processed correctly.
Yeah, so it's just for 6 hours from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay.
Oh, the price has been changed.
It is. I just checked the website too. It's available to everybody right now.
No,
50% off, only until 8 p.m. tonight.
That's probably a miscommunication. All right. So, well, it's still on sale though. It's still $25. So that's pretty good. All right. So now I was going to open up the panel for questions. Any type of questions.
Yeah, if somebody wants to speak to us, just raise your hand.
Let me see.
There we have John.
Let me get over there so I just can't see
John. Yeah, John raised his hand. If you can
let me try to get
him.
That.
And Carol has a question.
John Harris? Oh, no, I got you.
John Soper?
I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then unmute.
Thought I hit unmute. I have to hit it twice, it seems. There it goes. Are you able to talk now, John?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I got you now, yeah.
Can you hook up sensors to this?
To the badge? Yeah.
Yes.
There should be, there's a hacker section on it, right?
Yeah, there's that little expansion port that you can get access to the I2C bus if you have something that will mate nicely there. There's also on the left side when you're facing it. Can you switch to a slide that shows the hardware?
Right.
There's a number of through-hole connections that you can solder to, and I believe that there's 3 or 4 I/O pins there. I think there's 3 I/O pins that are accessible. Okay, yeah, so in this, right along the left side there, you see there's ground, battery, RGB, so that would be the bus that the RGB LEDs are on. There's also P27, P1, P0, and sorry, my eyes are getting old. Oh, there's also access to the 3.3 volt regulated supply and also the direct battery connection.
P27, did you get that one?
Yeah, so there's 3 I/O pins brought out to that in addition to the RGB connection, which is actually also just an I/O pin essentially, but it's connected to the signal line of the RGBs.
In one of the previous webinars, they had given out access to a picture or a file of the unstuffed board. And for some of the projects that I do, it would be nice if I could also get a picture or a file of the layout of the board without the components on it.
Without the components on it?
Yeah, and some of the previous webinars, some of the products, like the Blockly, they gave that out to at least one of the participants because they needed that for some of the kinds of projects that they did.
Well, This is an open source product, and the design files are actually in DipTrace format available on our website. I've just put in a link to where that download is. It's also available from our product page, so that you should be able to view that with the DipTrace. I believe it's of a file size, or a complexity is limited enough that you should be able to do that with the free viewer version.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
So the information from the sensors is there programming information that would allow one to figure out how to get that onto the web page so that, well, I've got another program called Mathematica, and it I think that I can program it to scour a web page for data. So that would allow me to get data, use this thing as a platform to hook up sensors and actuators to get data and control through the website. I guess this has a website, and you can program the data so that it appears in a kind of a grid maybe, so that I could use my Mathematica and program it to scour that web page and pull data off of there and use that data in a control program.
I know that kind of application is doable. I am imagining, Miguel, you went through the tutorials for the WX module that Andy wrote.
Yeah.
Was there something along those lines?
Not in there, the ones that not like that.
Okay, I know that we have talked about such applications. The ESP module in the badge is pretty powerful. It can interact with other web pages, or it itself can contain a web page, and there's a lot of different things that can be done with it, and we're kind of just scratching the surface of what's possible. Some things are better supported in Blockly. Beginning projects are better supported in Blockly, but some of more advanced projects like that may be more suitable for C.
Okay.
And the libraries in the C language are available. The same ones that actually are behind the Blockly programming are available to use with our free simple IDE software. And the latest version of our Learn folders will have those libraries in it. And I will post a link to where you can get that shortly.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Going through the list right now.
Yeah. Anybody want to talk?
Yeah, if you would like to talk, oh, Carol raised her hand. Just raise your hand in the, there we go.
I just want to figure out my unlock problem so I can program it.
Of course. Yeah, let's talk after the webinar, and I'll see if I can help you figure out what's going on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one's kind of tricky. I really don't know what's going on there. Might be a network, something to do with their network. Okay. Okay. So nobody else has any questions. We could probably just wrap it up from here.
Tommy Murphy asked, same multi-core processor?
Yes, it's a propeller.
Yep, same propeller that you've used on many other boards probably.
Michael Green, where are you? Oh, that's weird. Where's Michael? There he is.
Michael says, I've been adding a connector for SparkFun's QWO I2C IC bus for I2C and using some of their sensors and a small OLED. Oh, thanks, Michael. Yeah, somebody had asked earlier about adding sensors, so
yeah,
hear that.
You can add a number of other things. A second OLED display. There's a GPIO chip that SparkFun sells that plugs in. So you can add additional I/O pins if you want.
And you're connecting this to that little expansion socket?
Yeah, to the I2C C bus.
Ah, nice.
Has anybody got any information on that so that they could be included in the documentation for this webinar?
I sent a message to Jeff with a picture of what it looks like, and he can forward it to anybody who wants it.
Yeah,
Well,
that was in an email?
I would definitely want that.
Okay, I will find that and forward it on to everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Jeff, did you answer Michael's question about the firmware?
I didn't see that question.
It's in the Q&A. Is the firmware on the Wi-Fi the same as a Wi-Fi WX module?
That's a great question. The answer is no at the moment. However, only because we already had production Wi-Fi modules in stock. The firmware that we have on the badge has been updated to add some features to it specifically for the badge, but in the end we were able to genericize them enough that they will be available, or that same exact firmware will be used on future WX modules that we release. And you'll be able to download it from our site. I don't remember if we've updated it yet. On the repository for the Parallax ESP module, we probably have it listed there, and you can download it and update your Wi-Fi module if you wish. And specifically, the most I guess the highlighted change was the ability for the module to realize that it needs to download something to the propeller, and that's done through just a simple I/O. An I/O pin that I don't remember if you raise it high or low, but if you download that code to the badge and flip the state of that pin, it will try to actually basically forcefully download an already included propeller binary image down to the propeller chip.
I think Terry wanted this. Let's see what Terry wanted. Speak. Oops.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Terry?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if Parallax was planning on carrying the audio-video cable. I had a really hard time finding one that was pinned correctly. I ended up buying a generic one and hacking it up. So that was a real chore.
Oh, wow.
Not that I know of, but do you know anything about that, Jeff?
I don't. Stephanie would be the one to know, but...
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the typical cable has the sleeve as ground, and this one has the second ring as ground. And so the typical cable that's like for a camcorder or something won't work because what it thinks is ground is really the video signal.
Oh, you're talking about in the
TRS cable.
Are you talking about in the jack that goes into the badge?
Right.
Yeah, that's in the product guide. It explains the pinout of it and that it's not the same as the previous.
Right, but that cable is not easy to get a hold of. I don't know if Parallaxes carry those or not.
No, we don't carry them.
I'm sorry, is that cable similar to the one that's used like on a Raspberry Pi? I think it is, isn't it?
I'm not sure, but I got 3 different cables and all 3 of them were the wrong pinout.
I'll try to find a model number of a specific cable that's compatible and make a note of it on our website. And I believe I may still have your email address, and I can send that to you individually as well. Or I can send it as a follow-up to all attendees. I'm making a note to self.
Yeah, that would be great if you had like an Amazon part or something.
Okay. Thanks for mentioning that.
That's a good thing to mention. And did you see that Whit wanted to ask when the terminal will be working on Blockly via Wi-Fi?
Yes,
Funny
I did. And it actually is working right now in the demo Blockly site, so demo.blockly.com, if you're using the Chromebook app. And later this month, we will have an update for the app for Windows and Mac that will also support the terminal and graphing as well. So that all 3 of those platforms will support.
Okay, I tried it last night, but I was trying it on the Windows, so I'll try it on my Chromebook.
Yes, yeah, it's version 0.92 of the Blockly Prop Launcher. It's the one that you'll get if you download it fresh or if you tell your Chromebook to update its extensions.
And Whit, you're using the demo site for that? Because I believe that the terminal and graphing blocks are available for the Badge WX board type only on the demos Blockly at the moment.
Right, I will. I'll use the demo site. Okay, great.
Right. However, I can tell you that you can on the Blockly site download a, like a ABWX project to your badge. I've done that before, as long as you're careful about which I/O pins you're actually using. It gets a little awkward though.
Yeah, but that kind of stuff's kind of fun.
Yeah, while we were developing this, that's what I had to do to get the code written to support the terminal and test some other features.
Okay. So I just want to remind everybody one last time that if you call in to our sales department or email, it has to be within, well, actually, the price dropped for all these already? Oh no, it's only for the 6 hours. Attendees or not, right? Right?
Currently, it's listed on the public webpage for 50% off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's still within the 6 hours, half off.
Right. Right. And until closing time, then they can also call into sales if they want.
Okay. So, just want to make sure that put that out there again. Okay, well, that pretty much concludes our webinar for today. I hope everybody learned a lot and had a good time.